Hello, welcome back. Today we're focusing on a very prevalent topic in today's culture, hair loss. I believe we should get straight into it.
I agree. This is one of my favorite topics that I love to talk about.
To start off, what actually causes hair loss and how much of what people believe is completely wrong?
Okay, so hair loss is caused from multiple different factors. There is never just one factor that may cause hair loss. Most people are completely wrong because they look for external sources like, okay, my hair is falling because it's genetic. I need to use minoxidil or something like that, but they never look for the internal drivers of why we lose hair. Hair is considered non-essential to the body. So even though it's essential to us and we love it, it is considered a non-essential, more beauty kind of item. So the body, when it's in a sign of stress, whether it's hormonal imbalance, inflammation, some sort of stress going on, it will direct all its resources away from the hair follicle and back into where it needs to go. And that can actually cause hair loss. So I want to look at, today I think it's important to look at the common causes.
Yeah. So what are let's say the top 5 most common causes you see?
Okay, so I would say stress, number 1, is one of the big ones. Thyroid imbalances is another very big one as well. Gut dysbiosis, gut problems, malabsorption, leaky gut can definitely cause hair loss. Hormonal imbalances is another big kind of area when we're looking at hair loss as well.
Yeah.
I know I've got another one, inflammation, oxidative stress, viral load. So there's a few other causes as well. The big one to look at nowadays is a lot to do with stress.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to dive a little bit into that then?
I will. I'd love to dive into this
Yeah.
to understand how stress affects hair loss. So a lot of people will go to me, what happened last week to cause my hair loss? It doesn't work like that because hair growth happens in 3 phases, right? Let me just look at my phases here to remind myself. So basically we've got the hair growth cycle is the anagen phase. This is the growth phase, which happens between 2 and 7 years. Catagen is the transition phase, which is 2 weeks. And the telogen is the rest or shedding phase. That is actually 3 months. So when your hair starts shedding today, often it can be from something that happened to you 3 or 4 months ago. So what I mean by that, we could have a shock or a trauma that occurs a few months before, but we often don't notice the hair loss until about 3 to 4 months later, right? Why is that? What does stress do, right? So stress can do multiple things, but one of the big ones, I forgot to add nutrient deficiencies, but one of the big ones is stress. When we're under stress, we produce adrenaline. The adrenaline then produces cortisol. And what cortisol does, it attaches to the follicles and it stops the growth phase and we'll start to lose hair.
Yeah.
Right? The other interesting thing, what does stress do? Gives us nutrient deficiencies.
How so?
So when we're under stress, our body needs more things like magnesium, zinc, our B6 and co-nutrients to make neurotransmitters. But they're very important for hair growth, right? So if we look at the common nutrient deficiencies that can cause hair loss, we're looking at things like zinc is a big one, iron deficiency is a big one, silica deficiency is another one, copper is another one. So a lot of those nutrients are needed to help us cope with stress. So if we don't have them being used up for that reason, then we start to get deficiencies that can actually affect our hair growth, condition, and actually even cause hair loss.
Okay.
Is the other one.
How many people do you say that are usually nutrient deficient?
I'd say close to 100%.
Yeah.
No,
I believe you.
It's true. I don't think I've had anyone that's ever come in for a consult that's had a perfect level of minerals, right?
Yeah.
More than likely, the common things I've always said to people that I see in most people is silica deficiency. Now, silica won't necessarily cause hair loss, but it will cause breakage, it will ruin the condition of your hair, it will split the hair and the hair won't grow. Why is silica so deficient? There's so many heavy metals within our environment and these block silica absorption, right? They throw aluminium salts into a lot of town water with fluoride that blocks silica. Silica helps her hair grow. So that's one common one. iron deficiencies. How many people do you know now that have iron deficiencies? It's so incredibly common. You know, women have hormonal problems. They're excess bleeding, heavy bleeding. They don't eat enough iron in foods or absorb enough iron. They get iron deficiencies, and even a ferritin level that's around 30 or 40 can still cause hair loss. So that's another big one. Iodine deficiency, very common, right? Okay. Why is it so common? Because we've all got phones, computers, EMF, Wi-Fi's, and that depletes our iodine stores.
Yeah.
Why is iodine important? It keeps the thyroid in balance. An underactive thyroid is one of the greatest causes of hair loss.
Why is that?
Because the thyroid is part of metabolism. It helps with blood circulation. So what can happen is stress, which drives up reverse T3, can block thyroid function, and the thyroid is needed for our metabolism, but it helps with the growth phase of hair.
Right. Interesting. I want to talk a little bit about, we'll dive deeper into nutrient deficiencies a little later on. But at what point is hair loss genetic, and at what point is it lifestyle driven and reversible?
So we've deep dived ourselves into genetics here. And yes, hair loss can have a big genetic factor involved with it. So when we're looking at genetics, we've always sort of talked about genetics is 10 to 20%, but you can control that through lifestyle, diet, environment by 80 to 90%. So yes, there is a genetic factor there, but a lot of things can override those genetics, and you can make things change. So for instance, there could be male pattern hair loss, within the family because you have more DHT receptors in your follicles, but that is influenced by things like inflammation, oxidative stress within the body, nutrient deficiencies, what you eat. So many things can actually affect that. So if you controlled all of that, your ability to control your genetics or that outcome becomes more possible, right? So yes, there is a genetic component, but as I've always said, your genes can be altered or expressed in a beautiful way through what you actually do.
Can they be completely changed, or you can just do the best that you can possibly do with those genes?
That's right. You can never fully change the lineup. I always tell to people that you've been given is your lineup.
Yeah.
But you can change the expression of your lineup according to how you think, what you eat, your environment, and what you do with those genes on a daily basis. Okay. So you can never change the expression of what you've been given. The lineup of what you've been given, but you can definitely change its expression.
What does that mean, the lineup and the expression?
So your gene lineup or your coding that you've been given for every single gene, like a AAA, a TC, your ally, will never change, right? That's genetically 50-50 what you've got from your parents. But the way, if you've got, say, a bad gene or what we consider not optimal gene there, you can change the way that gene expresses through a certain nutrient that you do daily or through certain foods that you eat. And that so-called bad gene becomes a good expression gene, and it doesn't express in a negative way.
Okay.
What's a good example of that? For instance, look at the MTHFR genes. I could be given a double MTHFR gene, depending on which one I have, which means I'm not getting folate, which is B9, into its active form, and it's affecting many pathways within the body, right? Thickening my blood, not making mitochondrial energy, giving me more inflammation. If I knew this and I started taking the right form of folate, like 5-MTHF or folinic acid and its cofactors, and I did that on a daily basis for a while, the expression all of a sudden becomes a good expression. I start making mitochondrial energy. I'm tricking the gene, right? So I'm tricking it through nutrients, and also through the foods that I eat. I might start eating more glutathione-rich foods, organic grass-fed red meats, cruciferous vegetables. And so the gene thinks, oh, you're doing it for me. You're giving me what I need. And it starts expressing, okay, no inflammation, mitochondrial energy. I'm making glutathione to remove heavy metals. So the expression of that gene becomes positive through the nutrients or the foods that you take.
Okay. You can make a change.
That's right.
Don't use your genetics and genes as an excuse to be lazy.
That's true.
Why are so many men and women nowadays, especially younger generations, starting to lose their hair a little earlier than previous generations per se?
Well, if we look at the actual causes of hair loss, which we threw out before, so hormonal imbalance, inflammation, stress, even gut dysbiosis, nutrient deficiencies, all of these different causes, it's worse nowadays. Why is it worse? Let's look at hormones, one area. So if we look at females, conditions like PCOS, which is androgen excess, low progesterone, all of these things are more common nowadays because we have more chemicals, toxins, or things that mimic hormones within the environment. So we're looking at all the even makeup, sprays, things like that. They basically can mimic hormones. And what happens then is it can give us an estrogen excess that can lower progesterone. We get more insulin resistance. That leads to PCOS. So environmentally, hormones have a lot more to deal with within the body than what used to happen, say, 20 or 30 years ago.
Okay.
That's one perfect example. The other one is heavy metals and minerals compete with each other, right? So if our environment is more loaded with heavy metals, which it is, it's in our water supply, it's on our keyboards, it's everywhere, heavy metals. If we've got more of that within our environment, which we definitely have nowadays, it's competing with our mineral absorption, right? So for instance, cadmium competes with zinc, right? Where do we get cadmium? Computer keys, mobile phones, So we're taking cadmium all the time. That's competing with zinc. So we get zinc deficiencies, which can cause hair loss, right? So we can see a lot of environmental things. The other one is how much more stress do we have nowadays, especially living in Australia? If we look at the way things are, the cost of living, food, young people trying to get into homes, it's much harder now with the stress levels financially and what's going on in our society, that this is driving higher cortisol levels, higher reverse T3, and all the things that naturally cause hair loss, right? Back in the day, we didn't have as much financial stress as what we do now.
And like social media and stuff like that.
100%, So you've got all these different stresses that are just continuously driving up cortisol, and it's stopping the growth phase of the hair.
Okay, so environmental factors or toxins and heavy metals,
yes,
they imbalance your hormones.
Yeah, minerals.
And minerals, which then affect the hair loss.
Completely. So if I look at all the things for hair loss, I could equate that to what's happening in our lifestyle nowadays is actually affecting all of those different things. Even look at another really good, interesting one with hair loss is leaky gut and dysbiosis.
Okay.
Or parasites as well. We've got more parasites in our water supplies. We've got less defenses against them. I mean, this is a really interesting one to throw out. Two of the most common deficiencies now, iodine and zinc, right? What's the other thing that iodine and zinc does? They make hydrochloric acid. What does hydrochloric acid do? Give you defenses against bad bacteria and parasites, right? So all of a sudden, you get bad bacteria, parasites is using your iron stores up. Iron deficiency is one of the greatest causes of hair loss. So you can see the vicious cycle that happens just from a couple of nutrient deficiencies that are more common now. Like I could go back, I've been doing mineral testing for 25 years and I'll go back and I never used to see such iodine deficiencies. Nearly every child that comes in and does a consult with me, even little ones, are low in iodine.
Why is that?
Well, they're on iPads from birth. They're on phones from birth. Okay. They've got more Wi-Fi in their environments that we never used to have. We're onto 5G and all these different things now. So kids never used to have as much iodine deficiencies. Iodine's other job is it chelates heavy metals. They've got more heavy metals coming in. We even look at things like grapes. Grapes used to have arsenic pesticides on them. So if you don't eat organic grapes and the kids are getting arsenic, that's competing with minerals. So you can see the beauty is now what I'm seeing in your generation, and younger, is young kids in your generation are way more aware, which I love. It's phenomenal. They're onto it because you have your social media and all your things and you're researching. Back in the day, we had to do it through books and, and encyclopedias and things. You guys have instant information, right? But you're more keyed on with your health, which is fantastic. So you know about a lot of these things already at the age of 18, 19, 20 is phenomenal.
So how does gut health and different gut conditions affect hair loss?
So if we look at gut health, I could probably throw out a few different conditions that will cause hair loss. So one would be malabsorption. Second one is gut dysbiosis, and third one is leaky gut, right? So how does it affect hair loss? So if we look at malabsorption is, as I said before, nutrient deficiencies that cause hair loss, it will be like things like protein deficiency, zinc, iron, silica. How do you absorb minerals? You need good stomach acid because the first phase in the stomach is about mineral absorption, right? So if my stomach acid's low because I might have iodine, I might have deficiency, I've got zinc deficiency, or I could just be stressed or having too much coffee, having sugars, processed foods, and that depletes my hydrochloric acid, you're not going to be able to absorb the minerals you need to actually help with hair growth. Right? So malabsorption will do that. The other one is gut dysbiosis. So gut dysbiosis is when bad bacteria, all different types, start to breed up in the small intestines. So what does that do? That creates a lot of toxins, methane gas, and basically it becomes a toxic environment that displaces the gut microbiome. That has an effect on absorption, and the ultimate thing of that is I won't go into growth phase of the hair, right? Third one, leaky gut.
Why won't it go into the growth phase of the hair?
Well, basically to go into the growth phase, you need certain nutrients to make hair grow, like we talked about before. So the first one is mineral absorption. The second one is also we have things like short-chain fatty acids, which help to ferment foods, and that's the breakdown of proteins, carbohydrates, basically in your fats. If you're not absorbing them properly, then that's going to affect the nutrition that gets to the hair follicle. So and the third one, a big one, is leaky gut. So people go, oh my God, my gut's leaking, and that is true. So basically, what is leaky gut? It's when tiny spaces develop within the walls, and it lets the wrong things get into the blood, drives up high inflammation, oxidative stress. Oxidative stress and inflammation can get to the hair follicle and cause hair loss. So that's one of the other things that can do it. And so you've got poor absorption coupled with inflammation. Great way to make your hair fall.
Oh, not good. How do hormones like DHT, cortisol, thyroid hormones, and insulin actually affect hair?
They have a big impact on hair.
You can keep it in simple terms.
Okay. So DHT, so we've got testosterone, and it converts into dihydrotestosterone. Now, we want a certain amount of dihydrotestosterone. We just don't want it too high, because it can affect the follicles and cause hair loss, right? So it's about the balance as well. There are some benefits to dihydrotestosterone, but we have talked about this before. Genetically, maybe males have more androgen receptors within there, and so if they overload them, then that will be too much on the hair and it causes hair loss. That can happen with females too when they get androgen excess with conditions like PCOS, which is driven by insulin imbalance, right, as well, or it's coupled with it. When that happens, that will also affect the growth of the hair follicle and the hair may fall, right? Cortisol, as I said before, stops the growth phase. So if my cortisol's in excess, it can often cause high reverse T3, and that then we look like we have a normal thyroid function, but we actually don't. It's blocking the conversion of T3 to T4, which we need for all phases of hair growth. Okay. So you can see they affect each other, right? But even individual imbalances can have an impact on the quality of your hair, the growth of your hair, and also on hair loss. So it's very important. As we said, how many different causes are there to hair loss?
I know, it just goes on and on.
It does. So what would be the smart thing?
Get
Testing.
Get healthy.
That's right. So,
either one.
Okay, so as a naturopathic doctor, the biggest thing with us is to find out where things have come from. And often things are more interconnected than what we realize. But if a person comes into me and they go, okay, I've just got normal shedding, or I've got alopecia. So there's different forms of hair loss, right, as well, that affect different parts of the head. But we look and we can even tell in the different parts of the head what may be causing it as well.
Do you want to tell us about that?
Okay, so, for instance, if we're just shedding, it could be just a simple hormone imbalance, a nutrient deficiency. If we're losing it in patches, over the head, we could be looking at autoimmunity and things like alopecia. If it's more frontal, that could be testosterone, dihydrotestosterone. So the different areas will actually probably give us a key to what is happening in the body.
Okay.
Right. That's one thing that I always look at with hair loss. So I look at where is it happening? Is it just shedding? Is it patches of hair where I'm losing hair? Is there an autoimmune component to it as well? So we look at that. The main thing I love to look at is what is causing it. This can be quite personal to me because I've had someone very close, have some hair loss at a young age. And I personally had that myself, a few years ago, which is why I created a product called Hair Juice.
Yeah.
Not that I'm plugging it, but it's like,
shameless plug.
It is a great product. But I created that because there were so many different factors towards hair loss. And at that stage, I hadn't done I didn't do all the testing yet, but I wanted to create something that could cover everything: the gut, hormones, inflammation, even blood circulation to the follicles, so everything. So I could at least then produce something that could help everyone.
Yeah.
Right? And it worked really well. What I would do with a normal person, I would do testing. Right. So I'd get them in, I'd do testing and work out where is it coming from? Is it from simple nutrient deficiencies? Do you have a hormone imbalance? And do some urine and saliva testing because the blood isn't as accurate. Find out if that, do a gut microbiome, find out if there's leaky gut. So actually find the cause, all the causes of why you're losing hair.
Interesting. What are kind of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to regrow their hair or stop hair loss?
I think the biggest mistake is we look at it externally.
Okay.
That would be probably one of the biggest ones. So we'll go out and we'll take, another big one is just taking huge amounts of biotin. There was a fad on TikTok, biotin causes hair loss. And the first thing a lot of girls will do is go, I'm going to buy huge amounts of biotin, just take biotin, right? Mm-hmm. So no, it does not work on its own, right? Biotin is very good for the skin and the hair, but often it's not just biotin deficiency that's causing it, right? So that's one. The other thing is we look for external products. So we go, I'm going to use some drops on my scalp. I'm just going to use some rosemary, or oils or things like that, and that's going to fix it. Well, we remember that's fine and it definitely helps, but you have to fix it from the inside. It's a communication issue that's going on.
Okay.
So it's a miscommunication within the body. So it's important to find out what the signaling is, because often when you get hair loss, it can be a sign of a bigger problem that's going to begin.
Okay, so it's a good warning sign.
Great warning sign. And if you jump onto it early, you can fix the simple issue before it becomes a bigger problem.
Oh, actually, is it really a good early sign?
Well,
because isn't it delayed?
It's delayed. Well, it's not a great early sign, but yes.
But it's a sign that something's going wrong.
That's right.
And you might usually, people won't make a change until something drastic usually happens. They might feel bad and something's going wrong.
Yes.
They'll just keep pushing through it. But when it comes to vanity and something big like that, it's a good,
It is a good warning sign, because even if it's 4 months, giving us a sign from 3 to 4 months before, often chronic conditions, we could have the problem, we could have stress for years before it turns into something chronic.
Okay.
But it's warning us early, hey, fix this now before I give you a chronic condition, before I give you some Crohn's or some ulcerative colitis, or even, lo and behold, something like cancer, because often people don't realize when we get that, it could be forming for 5 to 7 years, and it's giving us little warning signs beforehand.
5 to 7 years.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. It doesn't, like they tell you, form overnight. It can take multiple years of imbalances to become that. And that can be a warning sign. Not that it's a warning sign towards that, but it can be a warning sign towards even autoimmunity.
Because it's always possible, at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. So, anything like that, as I said, it's a non-essential item but it is essential for females and males, right? But we do call it non-essential. So the body will direct all its resources away from the hair to something more important it needs. What is more important that's going on, that's happening in your body that you need to fix?
Yeah. I like how you said it's definitely important for females. It definitely is.
Yes.
There actually is a study, and for males and females, side by side, hair, no hair, there wasn't one instance where no hair was, and they even did it on different like levels of shedding and hair loss. Wasn't one instance where more hair wasn't more attractive.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
no matter what anyone tells you, even if you're a guy and you look good with a bald head,
Yes.
the version of you with hair still looks better.
Yeah.
Statistically and
yeah.
scientifically, all them kind of big words and that.
Yeah.
So you don't want to lose your hair. You want to buy hair juice.
Yeah.
So you need to, that was a long, exasperated ad right there.
It works, but look.
Yeah, exactly.
And the other one I was thinking about, another thing, it's just not on the hair. Do you know when females or males, they start to thin on their eyebrows?
Yeah.
So if you thin on the outer third of your eyebrows, that's a sign of thyroid problems.
Oh.
So it's a warning sign. So if you go, oh, I'm not as thick on that outer third, that's already a warning sign something's happening with the thyroid.
Do you know what's interesting? You
Yes.
say this? Carnivore diet.
Yes.
I mainly just eat meat and like fruits and whatnot.
Yeah.
And eggs, yada yada. But like carnivore diet, right? It's just red meat. They all lose their hair and all their eyebrow. All the eyebrow hair. Do you know why that is? Is it something to do with thyroid?
It's just, do you mean just on a carnivore diet?
Yeah, just meat.
Yeah.
Like nothing. They eat nothing else. I think it throws off their
That's
thyroid.
what I was going to say. Where do you get the iodine from then?
Yeah.
You know, like you look at iodine, what are the highest sources of iodine? Seafood, crustaceans, oysters, what else? Seaweeds. There's not many other high sources of iodine, and it's not found in high amounts in meat.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it creates nutrient deficiencies. If we don't have iodine and or selenium, it's going to affect your thyroid function, and you'll start to get that thinning out of the eyebrows.
Yeah, it's crazy. I've seen it a lot actually.
Yeah, it's really interesting. That's where I think it has to be adapted.
Yeah.
It's good short term for certain conditions and stuff like that, but if you can adapt it to your own body
it's
and
definitely
nutrients,
not a long-term thing. Hey?
that's right. Yeah, I think that's important.
Is there specific foods or diets you'd recommend to someone who wants to keep their hair as healthy as possible?
Well, I'd look at I definitely look at foods, like look at the nutrients. So look at increasing foods that are rich in zinc. You know, zinc, your iodine, as we said, protein is really important for hair growth.
Yeah.
Keeping up the iron-rich foods within the diet is very important. So, I mean, if you're going to add any greens into the diet, you're looking at things like, which is great for the hair, so rocket, your nettles, your parsley, all those rich kind of chlorophyll-rich kind of vegetables are good. Berries are really important because they bring down inflammation and oxidative stress. If you're going to eat seafood, some crustaceans like oysters are great. Very rich in zinc, very rich in iodine, you know, two of the most important hair ones that are going. So there's certain foods. So I'd look at, you know, generally Mediterranean kind of diet is really good for the hair as well. But I'm more in looking at people as individuals, right? So I don't give one phase diet for anyone. But I do look at nutrients and if you have a nutrient deficiency, eat those foods that are rich in those minerals to give you balance back. And as I said before, you've got to see what works for you. So that's why I look at a lot of DNA and go, okay, so what do your genetics tell me? Are you more Mediterranean? Do you need to eat more carnivore, you know, with vegetables? That can tell you a lot about the perfect diet as well that will suit you.
Perfect diet for you.
For you individually.
But like if you eat like
yes,
today, obviously make some healthier choices on all.
That's right.
I actually want to talk about something like green smoothies, especially like leafy green smoothies, and how they contribute to hair thinning.
Yes.
Because do you want to dive into that? Have you seen that?
Depends on how you make your green smoothies.
Yeah, because a lot of it's like they chuck heaps of rocket, heaps of spinach, heaps of leafy greens that have what's it called?
Oxalates.
Oxalates
Oxalates, yeah.
ganostrus or
Yeah.
I forgot what it's called.
Goitrogens.
Yeah, goitrogens that affect your thyroid.
Yeah, but goitrogens are more found in broccoli, little bit in kale. So if you do too many goitrogens and your thyroid's not good, it's going to block thyroid function. That's right. If you do too much spinach and those types of foods, you've got oxalates, right? Oxalic acid, that can lead towards kidney stones, poor mineral absorption, different things like that. And it displaces some of the bacteria in your gut microbiome. So yes, this is where balance comes about.
Yeah, I think it's just people like seeing a health fat and then they're like healthy, doing green smoothie every single day. Yeah.
Also, the other thing you got to think about, if you've got poor digestion, a lot of cold foods will make it worse. Okay. Right. So if you look at Chinese medicine on that side, if you want to build digestion and your digestion is weak and your absorption's weak, what do? You heat foods. You have cooked foods. You do broths, bone broths, miso. You steam foods or cook it more. So if you're doing a lot of cold foods, cold green smoothies, cold juices, you can actually weaken digestion. And it weakens absorption, going cold to the stomach, contraction, not absorbing well, right? So the temperature of your foods is important too. Yeah. How the foods are cooked is important as well. And another one to look at is with the gut. What's one of the biggest causes of leaky gut? And we've spoken about this before, is having foods that are high in lectins, right? So having lots of legumes, that are not prepared well. But then once again, how do you break down the lectins? You soak them for long periods of time. So if you're going to go into that process, very time consuming, right? I don't know how many people have the time to soak things for 72 hours, right? Yeah. But, if you're going to go in that direction, so say, for instance, you go, I'm so healthy, I'm eating a vegan diet, I'm having lots of legumes in my diet and chickpeas and things like that, but you're just getting them out of a can, right? What they're doing is those lectins actually cause leaky gut and they block mineral absorption, right? So it's how you prepare the food as well. So anything can be broken down. So I think there's just this whole thing thrown out in the Western world. Lectins are bad for you. Oxalates are bad for you, all these types of things. But it all comes down to how you prepare a food, because we look into the past, we do a lot of fermented foods. Yeah. What do fermented foods do? They bring up the mineral content. They activate it. They help with absorption, right? And that was traditionally used in a lot of diets. If they had lectin foods, because that's all they could get on the land, they learned to soak them. They learned this years ago to break them down so we could actually get the mineral absorption. But today we've made everything fast, convenient, and quick. Yeah. Isn't it? And processed.
Yeah. Do you recommend people do their own research on foods? Because a lot of healthy foods are not actually that good for you, and a lot of unhealthy foods can be good for you.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I think like we've always talked about is we're all individuals, different kind of foods and diets suit people differently, right? But it's really important to look at, just don't throw out the terms, okay, vegan diet's healthy. Well, no, you could get nutrient deficiencies and it might not be right for you, right? So I think it's important. That's why I really love what we do, is because we meet someone, we take a photograph of the eyes, I can see what their body needs through their own eyes. I do testing, and I've already got a picture of environmentally, genetically, and energetically what that person needs to eat or to drink as well, to give them natural balance within the body. So everyone is a unique individual as well. So one diet does not suit the next, right?
If someone notices, say, thinning today, what would you tell them to do over the next 90-day period to counteract this thinning?
Well, one is to work out what's causing the thinning. Okay, it's a little bit different than shedding of the hair, right? So shedding, it might come from a trauma or stress 3 to 4 months ago. Thinning the hair could just be something like nutrient deficiencies, not getting enough blood circulation up into the follicle. So you look at things like that. Am I getting cold hands, cold feet? If I am, my circulation is poor. I might do some testing to look at nutrient deficiencies. Unfortunately, you can't test all those things in a blood test. The best way to test is through tissue testing, and you can test all your minerals. From those simple minerals, then, for instance, if my silica was low, you could look at supplementing but make sure you're absorbing it really well. I always say a great place to start is to look at digestion and absorption. So look at adding fermented foods into the diet, making sure your diet's nice and balanced with protein, having protein and natural fats with every meal. So you can do some really simple things like that just to start to bring you balance. Right?
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, and you could look at something like adding hair juice or
Exactly. I've actually got a little case study kind of question.
Yeah.
Let's say we have a 50-year-old woman. Over the past 2 to 3 years, she's noticed diffuse thinning across the scalp, widening of her part, more hair shedding in the shower.
Yes.
She's peri or post menopausal.
Okay, got it.
Has fatigue, poor sleep, stubborn weight gain around the midsection, and increased anxiety. She eats what she believes is a healthy diet, but often skips meals, drinks 3 to 4 coffees a day.
Oh my God.
And has been under chronic emotional stress. Okay. She's been told her blood work is in normal reference ranges.
Yeah.
She's tried biotin, collagen, and hair serum with no real improvement.
Okay.
What issues are you seeing here just straight off the bat?
Okay, straight away, high cortisol.
You can, I can give this to you so you can like.
No,
look
I've
back
already
and...
worked it out. Don't worry, I see this all the time.
Yeah.
So I can already tell there's a slowing down of hormones coming into perimenopause.
Yeah.
So estrogen is beginning to drop. That's causing estrogen progesterone imbalance. Insulin resistance is starting. Cortisol levels are starting to rise, starting to get more weight gain around the tummy. That basically is starting to throw the thyroid out. All blood testing will often be normal because things like cortisol, your thyroid will not show up in blood tests most of the time. As we've said before, only carries 15% of thyroid hormones, right? So you've got multifaceted problems starting to happen here, but a lot of them are due to hormonal imbalance, right? So what would we do? We'd start to balance off the hormones. So I personally would be using something natural to put the hormones back into balance. So you could use different forms of maca, can help to do that. It works on the HPA axis. What happens then is it tells the body to produce the hormones that you need. The other thing you could do is look at something that can bring up your natural phytoestrogens. What are some good phytoestrogenic foods? Is things like sesame seeds, flax seeds. These kind of seeds are really good because they are a phytoestrogen. They've got a flax lignin in them. And they kind of replace the missing estrogen that you don't have anymore. So you can do some simple things. If the cortisol is really high, which it sounds like, stress, anxiety, look at some beautiful things like magnolia, some beautiful holy basil. Drink some Tulsi tea during the day, which is holy basil, and it can bring that natural cortisol balance. Definitely look at vitamin D.
Vitamin D? Vitamin
D, very important. The absorption of it depletes as you get older. I mean, here's a perfect example is we're so scared about cholesterol, but you need cholesterol to make vitamin D, right? So you need to look, are they on any medications as well? So they could be on medications. If they're on any cholesterol blockers, they're not going to make vitamin D properly. Vitamin D controls your hormones. It controls 900 genes in the body, including hormone production. So that would be a simple place to start. The first thing I'd be doing, looking at this woman, is I would say, let's do a urinary hormone test. We look at something like an endomap or a Dutch hormone, and then we can look at the balance of all the cortisols, the melatonins, estrogens, progesterone, your androgens, all in one simple testing, right? So that's a simple thing you could do, as simple as I can make it.
Is there anything else you'd like to add on?
To that one?
Or today?
Well, I have a great case study too, just a quick one.
Tell me.
But I have a great case study in a young girl. Right? Yeah. And this is a really interesting one. So went traveling and basically got a parasite, right? Did some testing. Yeah. Well, got a parasite, and that created some problems with iron absorption. So it was interesting. So all of a sudden the iron levels went to non-existent. The low iron affected the thyroid, right? That when iron levels are low, it can create a lot of anxiety. And what happened is it drove up the cortisol, couldn't sleep as well. The reverse T3 went high, and the thyroid became very underactive, even though all other readings in the blood looked normal. that basically created some hair loss. But a few months before that, she had a shock and a trauma, and it was a delayed reaction, and the hair started to fall out. So basically, every kind of cause for hair loss was involved from one original trigger, right? So a good example, you get a parasite. The parasite uses your iron up. You get iron deficiency. The iron deficiency affects the thyroid function. The thyroid goes out. That affects cortisol, right? So it's like a trigger map of all these different things that can cause hair loss coming from one original driver.
Yeah, so it all like spirals. It's like when you push a snowball and you know how it gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And bigger. So it's important to stop early in its tracks.
That's right. If you can get onto it really early, you can bring balance back. You still have to, like, the interesting thing is I always look at what was the original trigger. So what started the first time, because if you don't treat the original cause, it'll continue to be a snowball effect, right? Okay. And what are we doing then? We're just treating every symptom.
Yeah.
Right. So you go back and go, okay, so what was that person's trigger? In someone else, it might be something as simple as iron deficiency. You've got heavy periods and you're not eating enough iron, and then that can be a trigger as well. So if it's as simple enough to fix as that, but with other people, there can be multiple triggers.
Yeah.
And you want to treat them all at one time, or often you can come back to one original cause, treat that, and it makes everything else fix itself.
Interesting.
Yeah. We are so connected.
That's so deep.
As humans.
We are, I guess, so deep.
It's true.
I don't have any other questions today.
No, they're the main things. So just if you are worried about your hair falling, which is a definite concern, it can be a sign of other things. I think it's really important to do testing, but look at things like hormonal imbalance, inflammation, some oxidative stress, which could be causing autoimmunity. Definitely look at your gut dysbiosis, leaky gut. Look at those nutrient deficiencies I mentioned, like zinc, iron, copper, silica, protein deficiency. So look at these possible causes and see if they actually relate to you, right? So many times people will sit down, meditate, have a think about and go, that's when the trigger started 3 to 4 months ago, if the hair is shedding.
Yeah.
If it's simply thin hair, it's not growing as well, it's more related to something that may be happening within the last couple of weeks, right? But if it's full shedding, full loss, look at what happened 3 to 4 months ago in your life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love that.